Stephanie, it's great to see you again and have you back on the show. And I just want to start off and say everything that we say here during this show is completely on the record. And I know that anytime there are any conversations nowadays, you have to say that before you do anything. And that includes like if you're at a bar or a restaurant and you yell something out, that is off the record, right? Isn't that how all this works?
I appreciate you laying it out. That's helpful for me. Thank you. I like to know where I stand.
Absolutely. So why don't you tell the world how you enlightened everyone with the article that you put together? You can summarize it better than I can in terms of how these rules actually work, because I will say most reporters, like especially on the TV side, I can speak for myself. Nobody ever sat down with me and said, "Hey, this is how things work. This is how you're supposed to interview players. What's on the record, etc." I'm not writing articles, but still, I think it's important for anybody that's in a clubhouse to understand what is accepted and what's not. And we're showing right there the tweet you put together to promote the article. But can you explain, because you clearly do have the knowledge of how this should all work, and there are a lot of fans, media members, players that are clueless on the topic, and this is a good learning lesson.
Yeah, and what's funny is that I think most players actually do understand these rules, and that's why you don't really hear from them. They don't really whine when we write what they say and do because they know what the rules are. When the clubhouse is closed to us the vast majority of the time they're in there, and at that point they do whatever they want. When we walk in as the CBA, it's collectively bargained that we have time, we have access in there. And when we walk in, the media is present. As I wrote in my story, I am the record as a reporter. The only way that something would become off the record is if we make an agreement beforehand that it is off the record. You can come to me afterward and say, "Hey, I wish I hadn't said that. Can we take that off the record?" And that's up to the reporter at that point. And like we're humans, we're reasonable people. We talk through a lot of this stuff. A lot of these negotiations happen behind the scenes all the time. But in general, in an open space like that, where recorders are rolling, cameras are rolling, nobody's pretending not to be a reporter. You don't really have an expectation of privacy at that point. We were talking yesterday, a lot of us, if a player is whispering to his teammate, "I just found out my wife has cancer," I think you would be unlikely to see that reported. But a player loudly yelling in the background of our interviews, that's totally fair game. And I'll tell you, everybody on the Phillies side knows that. And I think that the Atlanta players know that too. And I think that they have chosen to make this they tried to galvanize the team around it, and that's up to them. They're allowed to do that. It doesn't seem like it worked. I think instead it became a distraction. I mean, even last night they were talking about that just as much as they were talking about the loss. But I think that for the most part, this system works. And the other thing that I mentioned in what I wrote is that the reason that we have this system is for the fans. The fans are the reason that professional sports is such a lucrative business. It's the fact that people care about this and they want to know what it looks like in there. It's those scenes of loss, of victory that fans want to understand. And I said, like, the reason that how much it hurt Clayton Kershaw to fall short is that we were in there describing what he looked like. And then the reason that how happy he was when the Dodgers won is that we had explained to you how hard it was for him. The reason that about Mark McGwire and Andro is that we were in there. The reason there are so many moments, and I even mentioned that, like, the reason that that Chan-Ho Park got lit up in 2010 because he had, quote, a lot of diarrhea. That's because we're in there. It's not all like important to earth-shattering stuff, but given that this is an industry that exists because of fans, I think fans deserve to get a sense of who these people are and what makes these games happen. And that's how they find out, is that this ecosystem gives them access to players through us.
Stephanie, as a former player and now a media member, I mean, I just was in Houston and Minnesota, okay? When I'm in the clubhouse, it is like, for me as a former player, it is one of the most awkward times. We get 15 minutes just for us. No print, no anybody. It's just Fox in the playoffs. They give us 15 minutes just in the clubhouse. And it is like the most awkward 15 minutes. I'm like standing there and I'm like, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to see. I'm like, la, la, la. Now, will I go up to people and talk to them? Of course. People I know or people I want to introduce myself? Absolutely. But I also know, as a former player, especially in the postseason, the media PR people of the team, they come to you and they say, "Hey, the clubhouse opens in 1 minute. We are opening it up. Whatever you say after they tell you that is your own fault. There is no, and especially for me, here's my thing. And again, I want to take the player side on this, but if I was going to yell that, if I'm Orlando Arcia and I yell that, and I know all the reporters are there and there's probably a camera going to catch me yelling it, then the next day I can't say it was off the record. I have to come and say, yeah, I said it and I meant it. I mean, at least that was me. I'd be like, yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, listen, this is like the lightest trash talking I've ever heard. And for them to be like, oh, it motivated Bryce Harper? It's the playoffs. You think Bryce Harper needs any more motivation to beat the Braves or to beat anybody? He wants a ring. And it just was, I thought, listen, personally, I thought it was freaking awesome. He'd run around the bases staring at him. That's what we want in this game, isn't it? Don't we want this? Isn't this what other sports have? You know, guys like basketball, right? Kobe and whoever, MJ and the Pistons, right? LeBron trying to win these championships, right? This is what we want. We, you know, the Warriors and Kobe, or sorry, the Warriors and LeBron, right? Like duking it out. This is what we want. And we finally get this. And one team's like, no, we didn't really mean it. We're sorry. And you guys won because we talked too much. No, how about we just got our asses kicked?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what was so silly about the whole thing. Is the correct answer is, yeah, I said it because I was really excited that we won a game against a really good team. We respect them a lot, and I hope we beat them again. It's a totally reasonable thing to say. I mean, or at least it's a totally reasonable emotion to feel. But yes, you do know when we're in there. And I think that you guys, the former players who are in the media, are in sort of a weirder spot because you straddle the line. With us, there's no question. Look, I'm obviously not in there in some team capacity. I can't get the ball back to the pitcher if I'm playing catcher. I'm not an athlete in any way. They know what I'm there for. And so I think that there's really no blurred line on this one, to be honest. And it only became a story because Harper thought it was funny. If he hadn't stared him down rounding the bases, we would not be talking about this. And he said he had a lot of fun with it, that he thinks this is what it's about. He thinks this is good for the game. And I think he's right. I mean, it's also, honestly, it's pretty good for Orlando Arcia's brand. I think a lot more people, his Q score has probably gone up in the last couple of days. This is fun. It's an entertainment industry. Bryce Harper understands that.
It is entertainment. And you guys this is something AJ's learned since he's just joined the show. He didn't know this before, but writers are not biased. They are not cheering for either team. AJ thinks that every home writer.
That's what they tell me on Twitter, and that's what they tell me on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
I cheer for and against each team every time I do a game. So
right,
apparently I'm biased against everybody.
Hey, you're learning. But I heard somebody say, if a camera was rolling and this was recorded, what he said, would people be like, oh, that camera is a real? What did Alana Rizzo call Matt? Didn't he call Jack? Didn't he call her Jack off? Like a person?
You're talking about Jake Mintz, who was one of the people that
I said his name wrong.
Well, yeah, and also Jack off, Jake. Yeah, there's a lot of JA.
But you wouldn't say that you wouldn't say that if the camera recorded it. You'd be like, oh, Arcia said it. So to me, the fault is nothing in the words that he said. The fault is nothing in somebody reporting it. The fault is in the players not owning up to it.
So I can't hear. For some reason, the audio just on you is not coming through, but I am an accomplished lip reader, and I saw Jagoff, so I'm guessing.
And I can help you, Stephanie. I can help you, too, if you didn't catch Kratz. I mean, he's basically asking about the aftermath here, and Alana Rizzo, who just apologized on MLB Network for talking down on Jake Mintz and the situation and calling him a jack-off and kind of referring to bloggers and podcasters and all of that. And there's been some other also Atlanta media, and I'm going to quote media because some of the stuff that I saw from them is ridiculous too, but saying that, it's inappropriate for a player or for a reporter to do that. Here, I'll call this person out. Miles Garrett, it's I think a TV reporter down there. He, along with many other Braves players, did not know what was being said in the locker room at the time, was on the record. The media and players have a trust about what is on the record and what is whatever. I'm not going to read his whole thing. That should tell you enough right there. And then the BBWAA, though, sent out a pretty strong message. And there it is. I'll read this and then you can run through. And that kind of explains where Kratz was going here. On October 12th, Jake Mintz of Fox Sports was subjected to a personal attack during a segment on MLB Network. For the record, he is a BBWAA member in good standing, has earned the right to be credentialed through his hard work and quality baseball coverage. To assert otherwise in vulgar terms is both unprofessional and unacceptable. The BBWAA is deeply troubled that the league's own network would permit the disparaging of one of our members in this fashion. Scrutinizing our work is part of the territory, but comments such as these should have no place on MLBN. So what did you think of all of that kind of aftermath? There was like 2 layers here. It was like the players freaking out and then certain media members freaking out.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk specifically about any one person's comments, but I think that in general, it has been more disappointing to see media members seem to misunderstand our role. And I think that you can see, I think that there is a contingent of people who think that if you are like gentle to the players, they'll be your friend. Like they're not, they aren't your friend. They have a job to do, and I have a lot of respect for the job that they have. And the majority of people I've interacted with have a lot of respect for the job that I do. And those are not, I don't work for the team. They understand that. We're all at work, and we all understand that it's an ecosystem that we need each other, that some of us need, that perhaps the players do more to promote their game than the media does, but that our existence certainly helps the sport have the success that it has. I mean, we all understand what's going on here for the most part. And so it has been very surprising to me to see that there are members of the media who don't seem to understand what their role is and who they work for. We work for the fans. That's it. That's the end. And I think that I was glad that the BBWA released a statement. I spoke to our executive council and asked them to do that. They were thinking of that without me. I don't want to say that I spurred it, but it was important to me that we stand up for Jake, who didn't do anything wrong. I also think Lindsay Adler pointed out on Twitter that even if it hadn't been a BBWA member, even if it had been a blogger who heard something, no one did anything wrong. That's what is so silly. Nobody did anything wrong here until recently. Orlando Arcia is allowed to say whatever he wants to say. We're allowed to report it. Bryce Harper's allowed to stare him down when he runs around second base. All of that is fine. Everybody is doing the right thing here until people start complaining about it after the fact.
All of that is great. I think all that's great for the game. We need more trash talking in baseball. Let's go.
Yes.
Like we want rivalries, right? People thrive on rivalries. And then you have Travis d'Arnaud after the fact. I guess he's standing up for his teammate, but Travis has been around for a long time. Doesn't he know? Well, okay, let's ask you this, Stephanie, maybe worded a different way. If Arcia had said this and a camera had maybe been talking, let's say, to d'Arnaud, and Arcia yells this next to him and they hear it and it's recorded and nobody reports on it, then people are saying, well, how come nobody reported Arcia's yelling attaboy Harper? So you guys, I get it. It's just a weird spot because the Braves, again, I think if Arcia just comes out and says, yeah, I said it. He made a bad play. I was excited after the game. Fine. It goes away. And then Harper stares at him, whatever happens. But then people are like, dude, this is so cool. We got bad blood in this rivalry. It means so much more. But instead they're like, oh, we didn't really mean it. And then they just look like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it looks kind of soft, I think, because it like have the courage of your convictions. And I think you've seen this play out. Alec Boehm last year for the Phillies was caught on camera saying that he hated it playing in Philadelphia. And he said afterward, like, basically, I said it. I had a bad day at work. Like, I'm really sorry. I wish I hadn't said that. But I take responsibility for it. And the fans gave him an ovation because these are humans dealing with humans. People understand and people respect it when you take responsibility for something. And yeah, again, this is great. That's what no one seems to, or a lot of people seem to miss. This is very good. There have been people complaining recently that, ESPN, which has the rights to the wild card game, mentioned baseball like twice during the day the other day. This is on SportsCenter. This is getting attention for baseball. People who get money from baseball should be very happy that this is happening.
That's a great call. You're right. Yeah, we talked about it too. They did like 2 obligatory promos, even though they were carrying all the wild card games. And yeah, this is the kind of stuff that they want to cover. This is what we talk about with, I always mention cultural relevance. NBA has done it really well. NFL's on another planet right now in terms of coverage, but NBA has done it so much better. And just like AJ's saying, their players, like they go back and forth and people talk about it and they have fun with it instead of saying, oh, I can't believe that, it was a 4 on the trash talk scale and someone heard it. So I'm with you. And I know you got to jump. So lastly, I'll just tell you this because I know you were on with us earlier this season. Your article a while back about the Yankees not paying for Wi-Fi has been one of our fun conversations and talking points with many players throughout the season. So just in case you haven't caught that, there's been like inside jokes that have been brought to the outside. So thank you for letting everyone know about that. And also fixing the world's problems when, a team that's worth $1 jillion doesn't pay for Wi-Fi. I think you fixed the problem.
Well, I did fix it actually because they do pay for Wi-Fi now. So
Yes.
you're welcome. And I just want to add that we have that story because I was in the clubhouse and I asked a player mentioned something offhand. I think I'm going to buy the Wi-Fi tonight. And I was like, I'm sorry, you're going to what now? So that access matters,
Wait, are you sure it wasn't off the record though when he said that? Are you sure it wasn't off the record though when they said that to you?
They haven't complained. It's a good question.
Right. They haven't complained because now they don't have to pay for their Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think they're grateful actually. They like how it worked out.
That was a win
Saving
for
everybody
everyone.
Yeah.
Stephanie, safe travels. Thank you so much for joining us. It was definitely worth the combo.
Thanks for having me.